And we will first hear from Magda some overview about this category. Magda is a consultant at Euromonitor in Düsseldorf, and she will report on the health and beauty industries in the region of Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. We then have to her left José Miguel Cuesta. He is a business development and innovation director at Cantabria Labs. And he has been for 20 years working in business development. So quite some experience, and he started his career in the energy and utility sector. He has an interesting hobby, as the rest of this group as well. He likes to write short stories. I haven't read one yet, but I'm sure they are very interesting. Then we have to his left, Jernej Klopčič. Did I pronounce this right? He's business development director at PharmaLinea. He comes from a science and engineering background, and applying his multidisciplinary knowledge, he developed his professional path from product development to product marketing and eventually business development. He is from training a mechanical engineer, and that's why he liked to do things with his hand. And then we have Jerome Caussin. He's head of business development and strategy at Novozymes, OneHealth. He has a background as a food engineer with 20 years of experience in consumer healthcare. And he was in product management, portfolio management, and business development. He is with Novozymes OneHealth since 2019 and has been part of the major acquisitions which really formed Novozymes OneHealth. And in his spare time, Jerome flies over beautiful scenery of Eastern France on his airplane. And then we have Tamara Tjitrowirjo. Oh, it's close, huh? Business development and strategy lead at Novozymes OneHealth. And she is an ex-cancer researcher mixed with marketing and has spent the last 10 years working in various commercial roles of life science companies. She has developed the strategy of Novozymes OneHealth further and focuses on market intelligence. And Tamara spends her spare time sailing through the Copenhagen canals with her kayak or diving with the fishes on the open seas. So now, after all this introduction, I would like to ask Magda to give us an overview of the health and beauty category.
Many thanks, Matthias. Good morning, everyone. My name is Magda Starula, and I am health and beauty consultant at Euromonitor International. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm delighted to be speaking with you today. So for today, I've prepared a very short presentation, which is blurring of food and health and its effects on consumer choices. But before we kick it off, let me quickly introduce Euromonitor, which is a global market research company providing strategic insights on industries, consumers, economies, and so on and so forth. And we have 16 offices worldwide, and I myself am based in our Düsseldorf office. So let's go quickly through the agenda. As I said, our time is limited today and we only have 15 minutes. That's why I will try to be as concise as possible and try to give you just the essence of those topics. So what we're going to cover today is convergence of health and food, mergers and acquisition activities from big global consumer packaged good companies, and I think interesting topic about the fact that East meets West and the Asian influence on European consumer choices. So I will try to provide one or two case studies, examples for each of the topic. And if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me presentations will also be available later. And yeah, I'm sure we'll find a way and talk things further. All right, let's start then. As you see in the chart, there is a mixture of components that is going to drive health and wellness globally. So according to our analysis, global health and wellness market size is expected to reach $1.1 trillion by 2026, growing at a CAGR of 3%. And one of the biggest drivers for health and wellness globally is the fact that consumers' interest in fortified product foods and functional products is increasing, and more and more consumers are interested to supplement themselves with nutrients that improve health. And here in the chart, we see 3 graphs. And what is the most important fact is that health and wellness categories outperform vitamins and dietary supplements. So there is no doubt, definitely vitamins and dietary supplements, they are a key solution to support and to achieve health in general, although we are seeing an increasing trends among consumers to look for supplements in the foods and drinks. Therefore, there is an increasing trends in purchasing and consuming fortified products and functional foods in order to, how can I say that, to support one's health and to take a little bit more holistic approach to health in general. And this is what we also expect for the forecast period. So what we are seeing, according to our analysis, health and wellness categories, which is foods and beverages, are going to outperform and going to outpace the growth of vitamins and dietary supplements in the next 5 years. Here we at Euromonitor, we've identified health claims with high prevalence across the industries within foods and drinks. There are plenty of those, and I'm sure you are all well aware with those, because number one, for example, the no sugar push, then protein that goes mainstream, immunity support that is driven by vitamin claims, or digestive health, super important nowadays, as well as whole grain that is benefiting from the natural trend. So all of them are well-known, important nowadays, but I think what deserves a special attention is protein. So when we think about proteins, nowadays we see them literally everywhere. So in snacks, in drinks, in milks, so literally everywhere. Even if I think about what was 10 years ago or 20, even 10 years ago, we would see protein in sports nutrition, or just protein supplements. And nowadays we are seeing them, as I said, everywhere. So one of the reasons for that is definitely the trend, consumer trend, and increasing the intake of proteins in general. And another trend is simply companies, also consumer packaged good companies, that are trying to capitalize on this, and they are trying to introduce many products, including proteins, to their portfolios, because they see the potential in this market and see how important it is, and they see the healthy trends going through proteins. That is why this is an important trend. Exactly, and as an example for that supports, we at Euromonitor, we do conduct consumer surveys, and here are some examples. So we've asked our respondents globally about their attitudes towards protein. And for example, on the left-hand side, you can see the answers, the replies from consumers. Why do they, or how much protein they take, or simply why proteins are important for them. So as I said, on the left-hand side, you see the graph which in 2021, you see an increased the number of consumers that claim to take protein products. And on the right-hand side, you see the reasons why consumers around the world are seeking protein. So for over 50% of respondents, they want to supplement themselves with protein because they are simply better for them, as well as they makes them feel healthier. So again, this kind of states that the trend of protein is super, super important nowadays. And as I said, more and more companies are trying to capitalize on this and trying to introduce protein products, especially in the CPG world, where more and more companies like Nestle, for example, are trying to introduce products with high protein intake. Here we have a little background of mergers and acquisitions. So something that yesterday already Thomas, Vice President at IQVIA, was talking many interesting things about, and I think that's also super interesting for you, for the pharma industry, to have a closer look at the mergers and acquisitions landscape, and that's something that I will also try to share some insights. So as in the previous slides, we had more information or insight on the ingredients part, and now here, when we look at the graph, we see number of companies that increase their net sales through mergers and acquisitions in the review period, so in the last few years. So we have definitely Nestle, which stands out from all of those, as Nestle in the review period. They've tripled, more than even tripled their net sales through acquiring brands, and one of them they've acquired in 2021, Nature's Bounty. Also, another important company is PepsiCo, that in the last few years have also acquired several consumer health brands, for example, Evolve Protein or Muscle Milk. So this shows us how important consumer health trends are also for the snacking for global consumer packaged goods companies. First of all, they are aware that there are limitations to their portfolios, and they observe current trends, healthy trends, and they are aware that consumers are looking more and more into the space of health and wellness, and they try to capitalize on this, and they try to introduce as many healthy related products as possible. All right, now, we still are in the same trend, so trend of snacks, snackification, drinkification, so this is how we call them. So what we've been also observing in the last few years is the fact that consumers definitely do want to indulge themselves, but they do not only want to indulge themselves with simple snacks or treats. They want to have something else. They want to have a healthy angle next to it. So that's also something that we've already saw in the previous slide, and we are seeing more and more products coming to the market. So there are a couple of examples, like Babybel that launched their products, 45 cheese, and it is positioned as on-the-go snack, or PepsiCo again. In the past few years, they've also launched a couple of products with that positioning of health, wellness, relaxation. So we are seeing that this trend is definitely is super important, and is becoming even more important in the next few years. That's also something what we believe is the biggest competition for the pharma industries, as all those major global companies, Nestle, Unilever, they have many opportunities, they have many possibilities, and they know their consumers well, and they know the market well, and they can do a lot in that space. And yes, here still we are still staying in the snacking landscape, but a little bit differently directed. So we were talking about the fact that East and West, and about the fact that more and more trends from Asia is coming to Europe, to the US, to Australia, is simply spreading across the world. And we've been seeing that with many snacks, with drinks. So when we think about beauty drinks, when we think about collagen drinks, hyaluron drinks, or especially beauty positioned products. So we've been seeing that more and more products are becoming relevant around the world. And I think one of the most important is definitely collagen, because if we think about collagen and its positioning in Europe in the last 20 years, for example, one would use collagen for joint health. But nowadays, it's been changing since few years, and consumers more and more try to introduce collagen into their diets and try to take care of their beauty health, skin health, etc., etc. So that's why we are seeing more and more companies capitalizing on this and introducing snacks against snacks. So cookies with collagen, coffee milk with collagen, bites, sweet bites with collagen, cream for bread with collagen, etc., etc., etc. So that's why we are seeing this is a super, super relevant trend, and that's also something to keep an eye on and to take an example from global companies like, for example, Shiseido, which is a super huge beauty company, and they also have since many, many years a collagen product in their portfolio. Yes, we are almost at the end of the presentation because, as I said, I will try to be as concise as possible, and I hope that worked. So here I've prepared a short summary for you, and there are 3 key takeaways. So what we believe is the most important key takeaway is the fact that consumers are increasingly demanding vitamins and dietary supplements from foods. So that's why the snacking trend is more and more relevant. Therefore, they are looking to supplement their bodies, their health with products like drinks, like foods, like fortified drinks and foods that already include vitamins and dietary supplements more than the pill concept. So this is what we believe is going to happen in the next few years, and it's super relevant. The next trend is something that we've already discussed in a few slides ago. Competition comes from consumer packaged good companies. So as I mentioned earlier, this is also super important and something to for the pharma industry to keep an eye on, because, as I said, those global companies, Nestle, Unilever, they have opportunities and they are already entering the space, and they're not gonna stop. So that's something super relevant for you to always keep attention and take a look at the competitive landscape. And something that we've also discussed, keep an eye on Asia. So as we've mentioned, so many relevant trends, so many relevant innovations are coming from Asia. There are a number of them. Even if we think, I don't know, for example, just a beauty example with BB and CC creams, well, they've been super, super relevant in Asia for ages. And in Europe, they started becoming popular 10, perhaps 15 years ago, especially after the financial crisis, because then people were trying to use as many as possible multifunctional products. And nowadays in the COVID times, we also saw a huge boom for that product. So all the hyaluron, all the collagen innovations that are coming from Asia, or in general products, packaging, they are super, super relevant. And that's definitely something that is, we believe is important to observe the market, the Asian market. And we are at the end of the presentation, so I just would like to let you know if you have any questions or more interest to take a look at our insights, feel free to do it. We publish, there are many studies and reports publicly available, so if you have the time and willingness, feel free to take a look. And something perhaps heads up for the upcoming piece, I am currently working on hair loss treatments in post-pandemic Europe, and something also that yesterday a colleague, Zaria, sorry if I mispronounce, from Alibaba, she was talking about huge problems with hair loss in Asia. That's something that we are also seeing, especially after COVID, because there are so many scientific studies claiming that hair loss, COVID has increased hair loss problems. So we believe this is a relevant topic, and if you have the time, please take a look. And yes, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, and I wish you a nice rest of the day and lovely weekend. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Magda. Okay, we go over to José Miguel Cuesta, as I said, Business Development and Innovation Director at Cantabria Labs. And he will speak about dermo-cosmetics. And I'm interested if we hear from collagen as well as from Magda.
Let me introduce and but the collagen, we know that it's really a trend and that we are keen to add it into some of the products. Perhaps I don't know if overused, but the key perhaps is to find something different, which is absolutely complicated. Yeah. Let me, if I can. Thank you, everyone. Morning. Pleasure to be here. I will give you a quick overview on dermo-cosmetics, some things that we have seen so far after pandemic, and how we have, or we are trying to handle what is occurring in the sector. I will not bother you with a lot of figures, but at least an idea. Here, through this source, we can see that at least we have succeeded in some improvement, the growth after the pandemic period, and that dreadful moments. In some other reports, you may find even higher growth. Unfortunately, Spain is not within the green line. We will try to solve it soon than later. But the truth is that the promising perspective is that we are growing finally. The main categories, hair, body care, and anti-aging, they mean almost 50% of the market figures, and we should pay special attention. If you can see hygiene, perhaps driven by the issue that we finally has been able to forget the sanitary gel to use, likely for all our hands. And sun care, after withdrawing the mask, well, we are able to go outside and forget those also horrible Teams and Google meetings. No matter if you can see, if you pay attention to whatever the country, the truth is that all of them, in fact, you don't have names below. Those are the 5 most important categories: face, hair care, body, sun care, and healing. So quite a wide range, difficult to handle all of them and to provide products to all of them, but this is the task that we are involved. Some quick facts, numbers on the Spanish, for example, market. The truth is that over the different channels, we have been able to grow in all of them. Despite the fact that you can see a decrease in the pharmacy channel, this is related again to the sanitary gel. If you withdraw that product from the complete list, you can see that this overall growth of nearly 4%. And if we pass on to the luxury, after that forgetting the mask, again, we can show ourselves. So that incredible increase in eyes, sun, face care. So this is something that we are enjoying and that we should, of course, pay attention again to provide the market with new products. Some of the factors or the items that we have seen in the market or in the rest of the competitors or the companies is the change after pandemic in how we handle the new developments, the new portfolios. I don't know if the axiom less is more fits here, but seems to. Simplicity, multifunction, less ingredients, better action, even with the same product to different indication within the same product. Again, although there are many and more customers aware of the skin needs, we call it skin intellectuals. There's also some problems to combine the routines, the protocols. Perhaps in the side of the male, we are not so keen of use that. As in the female, they know what I'm talking about. Different products for different indications. That's where simplicity applies. But we are also being forced to do the same in our manufacturing processes, flexibility. Perhaps the product life cycle has reduced, and we are forced to include and to enter into our portfolio new products again. Shorter life, better reaction, and quick reaction. Personalization, we have talked in previous speeches about that. We should react to that idea without affecting effectiveness, profit, service level, of course, but providing that possibility. Some of the things that we have seen it's also, apart from the product itself, the portfolio itself, we have created, or the companies are creating technology ecosystem around that also grab the customer, the client, with different tools. For example, some examples of companies like José and others, of course, has developed some apps we have seen during those 2-day sessions where they provide you with information. You provide information, they give you advice, new routines, personalized treatments, and of course, they are selling you the products. Some others has chosen a different approach, which is in the case of a more Pacific formularity. They have developed a device where you can make your own formulas at home, combining vials, creams, and you can get cotton pads with those ingredients at home. It's, of course, simpler, but quite effective as well. Some others provide you test samples of your skin, epidermis, of course, and can give you a complete report of your sebum percentage, keratinocytes activities, and some other parameters that you could rely on and, well, play with that for your routines, regimes, whatever. And some others with playing with, we have also seen before, artificial intelligence, with some image that you take on your own with your app. They can also provide you with some complete idea of your anti-aging protocols, products that you should buy in advance. Some others, for example, SkinCeuticals, L'Oreal, they enable the possibility to get in touch with a professional, dermatology, aesthetic professional. And Lucas suggested, not Dr. Google, you can ask and receive questions. And also improve that treatment or that personalized, again, routine. Better claims. The truth is that increase of knowledge of the customers ask for better claims, shorter time, and quicker. Currently, and we are really keen on that, we try to provide scientific evidence, support, trials to encourage or at least give arguments, marketing arguments to our reps in front of the clients. I mean, the clients, the physician, the pharmacists. This is what we are doing, but this certainly requires money, time, resources. It seems that there is some trend in some companies, of course, that perhaps they are relying on the customers, their self-assessment. They are more aware, so they could consider that they have information enough to address even other customers rather than rely on professionals. And no doubt, I'm not so keen on that, but the truth is that it exists and it's widespread. The use of those platforms, they are using influencers, and this is a really point of conflict with professionals. Some of them has also suggested that if we are, or the company is asking someone to play that role, which is the role nowadays or for the years to come, right? Another change in the lifestyles. Again, this word, I don't know if horrible, but sustainability, I don't know if it's overused already, but the truth is all those stamps, logos, you can see perfectly in the new carton boxes of whatever product. And the truth is, according to some surveys, or a lot of them, even the clients are even willing to pay a bit more if your product contains those logos or those ideas, those claims. And also reformulate your new products with organic, natural ingredients. Sometimes you are not even aware of what does it mean or what is natural or organic, but it's good to say aloud and that you are reformulating everything with natural and organic ingredients. No matter if it's afterwards, you can tell you that it's perfect, the product, without any scientific support at all. Well, but this is it. And of course, it changed not only in the product, but also in our manufacturing processes. Less water, differences or new packaging, refill, less plastic. We have, in fact, in our company, withdraw all the plastic wrap that was around the carton boxes. it's no longer used, and then you use that measure to say that percentage of carbon print that you have saved to the planet and that we will leave to our children. And also eco and wellness. In the past, perhaps it has a negative connotation. Now it seems that it's absolutely a trend, right? Quick, because the previous speeches and has talked better on this. Probiotics used to have only strains in the past. Now there are combination of strains plus trials, studies that doesn't give you EFSA claims, that give you the support to present to the clients, pharmacy, physicians. Hands hygiene, again, less sanitary gel, better for our hands, skin health. And let me just quickly go on the channel, omni-channel, a reality in different sectors, of course, TRIPS technology, in perfect Spanish, written here. So we should take advantage of that and work a lot to get that possibility in the online sector for the pharmacies and those platforms. Here you can see some facts or numbers in Spain. Remember that we were unable to grow the global market in Spain according to the global market in the world. But apparently it seems that the online succeeded in that task. You can see in Spain, nearly 20% increase, and the main players has even increased rather forward than the offline sales. Now the question is, which is the market share that we want to get and the weight over the global sales. And here's, now that I've seen someone snoring already, I will try to do some of your job and make some questions, and I appreciate that you don't formulate anyone to me. But this is a different combination and the weight of sales in different countries, the top 5 countries in Europe. You can see Spain, France, Italy, not reaching 50%, and you can see the figures in Germany and UK, also affected by regulation in those countries, which also is important to play with. But some questions. Playing in the online channel differs from the others. Physicians, 100% prescription. Pharmacy, half prescription, half distribution. But in the case of online, it's 10% prescription and 90% distribution. So also you could bear and you could handle the supply chain capabilities that you may have. You have to adapt them. You have to also consider the commercial policies, which is the margin that you are daring to lose, and how you will handle the commercial marketing approach in front of the online, where you don't have, let's say, face-to-face meetings, apart from pharmacy or physicians. So different approaches handle or difficult to discuss or to decide what to do. And then I will give you a quick idea on what we have done so far, what we are trying to do to cope with what we have found already. A lot of information, but I will focus on the truth that our model is a mix in the portfolio. We are not only the dermo-cosmetic company, we have split the portfolio between dermo-cosmetics and drugs. Why this decision? Of course, it's not unique. There are many others that have done already, but the truth is that our, let's say, doctor-centric policies that we are aiming the physician. Our client is at the end, all of you, me. But we are playing with the physician because he is the one to prescribe our products or recommend what we have. So why is important what I told you before, scientific-driven trials, clinical experience that could support what we are doing. Remember that we are talking also of dermo-cosmetics. So in fact, regularly speaking, there is no need to do, there's no compulsory in doing that. But our physician expects from us to provide them that kind of information. This is what we have been doing and what we are not going to change. Also, the investment in the company. We made the bet and were able to open a new site in the north of Spain a year before pandemic. Fortunately, we were also able to manufacture that dreadful sanitary gel that really saved a lot of jobs in those days. The site has been erected in a natural spring area, and the reality is that that water is driven up to the surface at 39 degrees, 102 Fahrenheit, for those that has played with the others. And we use that for heating the offices, for example, and in some industrial processes. So again, in some other presentation, we had eco-sustainable sites. So again, this a horrible word. The truth is, nothing could be done. You have seen the figures before. Without people, machines are important, but also some brains as well. When I remember, I look at those figures with some proud, because I entered into 2016, and we have been able in this year to double the figure. We are nowadays with more than 1,000 people. Of course, far from Bayer record numbers, but well, we are more humble. And I don't know if it's a key factor of the success, but the truth is that we could present as a pharmaceutical dermatology company, but the truth is that the board is a family-owned company, has decided to buy some other companies, depending the region, in other therapeutic areas. For example, you can see there Nutrición Médica, Deutera, and Dieticari. Those are in Spain, Italy, and Portugal, medical nutrition companies focusing on endocrinology, nephrology, geriatrics. We were also able to enter into that really important market, France, with the board of ACM, a local company there. We close our eyes and enter into the China system with a joint venture there with an old partner trying to play with our cosmetics. And you have seen we have also extended the territory into Mexico, Morocco as well. There is a net of distribution of distributors, consider them partners in some cases because they have been with us for nearly 20 years. And at the end, the truth is that the split of the sales has even going to beat Spain in terms of volumes. And let me pay a tribute. We have talked all the session about market sales and those important things and the reps. But I have the honor to manage these units. And I guess without them, we will absolutely go to a shipwreck. And I guess they will be able to lead us to conquer new lands regulatory. Without them, perhaps it's a blue and obscure work. Nothing could be done. All the products that we have should be registered, no matter with that. And they also help us quite commercially to adapt the messages, what we can add in the packaging, what we can add to the literature or marketing tools. So it's really important. And you can see there the other SHIP medical affairs. We rely on them for the clinical trials, experiences, activity reports that we are playing with. So really important for us. And we are not going to just bet on the influencers, let's say. And quick view on business development. This is where I started here and the previous activity. Being humble through our figures and our turnover, we know that perhaps we are not able to develop a new entity, that's for sure. That's where we have moved into the idea of new indications for existing molecules, new presentations, galenic forms, with the idea not only to develop internally, also to be able to close some deals with external companies as well, and trying to, as it's written here, to be considered as a reliable partner in the industry, especially in dermatology, and that we could promote and close those deals long and durable that enable us to enter into the market as quick as possible to really take advantage of that. And to also make them aware that whenever they have an idea, they could approach us and also change that future project. The territory that we have already conquered also give us the possibility of a synergy between the portfolio, different countries, different sectors, different type of skins, and that also provides us the opportunity to develop particular and personalized product for different type of skin. The Asian is not as the European one, and we can also play with trials specifically for those regions or for these ones. So this is something that we are trying to do. And this is the, let's say, the new baby born that we have. Of course, the company has been really entrepreneur, leader by our president and the CEO and all the old staff. But the truth is that we created this department a couple of years ago, after pandemic, trying to gather all the talented people that we have in the different sites and trying to give them a structure, a plan of getting those ideas into a project. Could be absolutely disruptive idea. If we are not able to put in a bottle and sell it at whatever the price, that will be only idea. No one will steal it because we have done anything with that. So the key point is to be able to do something disruptive as much as possible, and also play with our team. And we are really objective to know that although they are all talented people, I guess there will be more outside our walls. So that's why we are also really eager to close, to find, to look for research centers, university, startups, to look for their ideas and to try to cooperate in whatever the business model to do something. Fortunately, cosmetic, drugs, food supplements, everything. And here is the best of all the slides. Thanks to our, I don't know, figures, we have been able to knock on some doors, and that someone has knocked on our doors to ask for some cooperation. So here we have an example of the best team in the history, not right now, in the history. Manuel, you cannot discuss this, or at least out loud. And of course, the best tennis player that we ever have. Now that Federer has announced his retirement, Nadal has always been better, so that's it. And in case you don't like sports, here you have a great actress, the Colombian one, Sofia. He has knocked on our door to ask for specific cosmetic line. And here, Paralympics, this is Sara Andres, record woman of 100 meters. And as you can see, it's running without legs. Here you can see what we have done with them.
Siempre protejo y reparo mi piel. Sumo protección con cápsulas. Y todos los años reviso mis lunares y visito al dermatólogo. Recuerda 3 pasos y déjate la piel solo lo importante.
Fantastic innovation. The first photo protection in oral capsules, not a cream, not topical. It was oral capsules. And
nonconformity is the attitude that distinguishes us in every field. But success is not the only result. We win when we take care of others. When we strive to go further. When we innovate to shape the future. We win when we take care of our health. But overall, we win together. And we celebrate life.
I will be back with our 15th Champions League. Thank you all for this moment.
Thank you, Jose Miguel. You had some luck that I didn't have my own microphone and you had the only one here. Otherwise, I might have interrupted you a little bit earlier because we overrun a little bit of time, but it was worth it. Now we have Jerome and Tamara. They will present us a new player in the biological field. As I said before, it's Novozymes OneHealth, and we are interested to learn what this new player is all about.
Right. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's awake. Can I get some hands up if you're awake? Yes, that's really, really good. So I need to stand up because I need to wake up as well. So my name is Tamara. I'm here together with Jerome. It's part of our value to present as one team, and therefore the two of us are here today. We're very excited to talk to you and give you a little bit of our perspective about bringing biology-based solution into dietary food supplements and personal care. This is a conference. We wanted to share our insight, and we very much welcome your feedback, whether you think this is a great idea or, yeah, maybe not so. Try to catch us during the break and lunch, and we'll love to talk to you. But this is about our perception about how can we help people live healthier and better lives with 1 in a trillion solution. So we are called Novozymes OneHealth, and we are part of Novozymes, which is a biotech company. About 6,000 people, and we play in over 30 different industries using the really, really cool science of biology. So it could be using an enzyme to keep your bread fluffy for longer days, and therefore you avoid the food waste. Or it could be using enzymes in your laundry detergent, so you're able to wash your clothes in 30 degrees instead of 40 or 60, and maybe avoid those really, really expensive electrical bill that we are all suffering right now. And then we also use microbes, for example, to digest plastic and degrade plastic, or microbes to capture carbon and use it to protect the environment. So Novozymes is playing in many, many different types of industry. We invest approximately 14% into R&D, and we have over 6,500 IP rights. Novozymes OneHealth, which is the human health part of Novozymes, we have the opportunity to use that biotech engine, the big powerhouse, but at the same time, we're still a startup. We still feel that we're really young and agile. We usually go to the office with sneakers and jeans, not like this. This is very fancy. But this is how we try to be agile and think about entrepreneurship and venture while still tapping into the big resources that we have. It has been an ambitious growth path, but it still is an ambitious growth path. And that's also how we look into the future. It started back in 2016, actually here in Berlin, not so far from here, where Novozymes acquired OrganoBalance, coming with a culture bank of many different strains, including a postbiotic technology pilot pass that my colleague will talk to in a moment. 2017 and 19 is when the strategy is really being cooked inside Novozymes to recognize human health is one of those industries that we haven't tapped into that offers a really potential high growth, and we have the potential solution, all these enzyme microbes, all the other technology that we have in-house. And therefore, in 2019, Novozymes OneHealth was born as a strategic opportunity area, a focus area that can act a little bit like a startup within Novozymes. So we can work quite fast and agile, again, while still tapping the big powerhouse. Now we start taking small steps and running in the next couple of years. In 2020, we acquired a company called Precision Biotics that is based in Cork, Ireland. The company came with portfolio bifidolongum strains. One of them is number one HCP recommended in the US for probiotics. The year after that, in December, we closed a transaction with Microbiome Labs that is based in the US. and they are providing a very unique channel, which is B to healthcare practitioners. They also add a little bit more into our technology bank, which is spore formers bacteria that are more resistant against heat. In the US, spore formers alone have a retail value of $650 million and comes with a very attractive 10% CAGR. Earlier this year, we acquired Synergia that is based in India. Synergia comes with pipeline and also manufacturing capabilities plus vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 globally in an ingredient is estimated to be $100 million and predicted to grow 10 to 20% CAGR. So all of these are joined together into Novozymes OneHealth. 2 years ago, when I joined, we were 40 people. Today, we're approximately 500 people. So it is a really, really fast growing journey that we have with a lot of hiccups that we're learning, of course, but this enables us to play with many different technologies such as probiotics, postbiotics, enzyme, vitamin K2. We talk about 1 in a trillion. What is that? That is our mindset into how do we want to develop a product that really serves a specific need. So let me walk you through the 4 key segments of our product innovation. And this you have seen before, you have heard from many other companies as well. So we just wanted to give our perspective into how we do this. Starting bottom up with the consumer, and this is also what Elvis was talking about. Make sure we really, really know your consumers, do the qualitative, do the quantitative, really understand the unmet needs, because sometimes they don't even understand that there is an unmet needs. But that's not enough. We also need to talk to the healthcare practitioner to say, okay, what is the physiological challenge of these consumers? Once we have narrowed it down, of course, with the market data to show that there is an opportunity and a potential growth, then we get working in the lab to really find what is the best solution that can tackle that specific needs. As mentioned, we're technology agnostic. We love any kind of biology-based solution. It doesn't matter if it's enzyme or probiotics. What is important for us is really to understand what is the mode of action. If it's a vitamin K2, what does it do? Specifically with K2, it transfers the calcium that are available on your blood vessels back to the bone. So you're avoiding the calcification of the blood vessels and you're getting more calcium in the bone. Great. So now we know how it works. We tested out all in the lab, in the animal model. And of course, we need to test it out in humans with running clinical studies to really document, is that mode of action that we hypothesize, is it really true? Great, how can we document it? Last but not least, all of our innovation project, we start with the consumers all the way at the beginning for the end. So we think about, with our consumer insight, what is the end format that we can deliver to the consumer that really serves that specific need? We play in a B2B, so we can provide semi-finished and semi-finished format already there, and we can share our insights during the consumer insights to our B2B partner. As mentioned, we also play in B2C with the Precision Biotics brands and B2HCP with Microbiome Labs, where we offer the finished formats already. We believe data science can be used to revolutionize innovation. If we combine the proprietary data, for example, from our own products, we have a functional testing kit that is called BiomeFX. It's a stool sample, and we sequence the microbiome there, and then you can get a microbiome profile of your gut. That can be counted as a proprietary data. If we partner, then we can tap into that data as well and get the publicly available data. That will give you pretty broad data set. So for example, with this data sets, you can compare the 2 different groups, maybe one that can cope very, very well with stress during this COVID lockdown and the others, and maybe the other one that doesn't really cope that well. What's the difference between these 2 groups? From there, you can already identify perhaps a couple of strain candidates. So instead of starting from 900 different strains that you have to screen and test one by one or do a high throughput screening, you already narrow it down. And because you know that these coming from real human samples, you can fast forward and make sure that your innovation funnel is not just shorter, but also narrower because you're starting with lower candidates. This can probably save you some time from a normal 5 to 6 years innovation journey to perhaps only 2 to 3 years. And therefore, you're able to go to the market much faster. We have identified 5 relevant health categories. There are quite broad and usual categories that you have seen before. And let me just quickly walk you through of what is the product and what do we do there. So for example, in gastrointestinal health, Alflorex is the biflongum strain probiotics, and that's targeting the IBS. Whilst Mega's probiotics that is being distributed with microbiome labs in the US are the combination of the 5 spore formers. Mega Metal IQ is another one that I'm personally super excited with because it is, sorry, a little bit biased, but it's pretty cool. So Mega Metal IQ is a probiotic, it's a living strain that can engulf and sequester lead that is inside your body. According to UNICEF, 1 in 3 children in the world have elevated blood lead level. Having lead in your blood is never a good thing. There is not a safe level of lead. And when you have lead in your blood, it can impact your cognitive development, IQ points, for example. So what Mega Metal IQ does with this bacteria in the gut, it can sequester the lead and excrete it out safely. And protective metabolic and cardio health, we have vitamin K2, as I mentioned, working with the calcium from the blood vessels to the bone. And then in brain health, we have Zenflor, another biflongum that is working to help your body cope better with stress. And in oral health, we have BioFresh 4 Plus, and the consumer-facing product is called Hello. And BioFresh 4 Plus is a combination of plant extract and enzyme that can capture the little particles that the biofilm secretes in your mouth that causes the bad breath. So it captures those little particles and move it out of your mouth so that you can have fresh breath for up to 4 hours, which is not bad. But these are a short example about what do we want to solve in these different categories. And it has been very, very specific examples like the lead or the calcium in the bone or the bad breath. And how do we try to solve it with our 1 in a trillion vision? From here, I will pass it on to my colleague, Jerome.
Thank you. I promised the organization that I will not walk along right over there, so I will try to stay in front of the screen and capture also your attention as Tamara did. Up, I need this. So Tamara has presented to you our vision, 1 in a trillion vision, right, when we do innovation, and I'm going to lead you through one example. You will see on the bottom left the trademark, and along the way you will understand how easy it is with this trademark and the technologies that we have. Pylopass is a postbiotic solution for people with H. pylori. And actually here you have postbiotic. There is no official definition of postbiotic, but it's an inanimated, right, or an inactivated probiotic for those that are not aware, which means that it is providing a health benefit to the host when it is ingested. And Adicobacter pylori has this very funny shape, right? And it's very scary at the same time. So this spiral shape is actually in 50% of the population, right, in the gastric pouch. It can be asymptomatic, right? But when you are infected and you start to develop, it can have really major consequences up to gastritis and ulcers in the stomach pouch. There are WHO consideration H. pylori as a carcinogenic group 1 substance, and it is highly associated with risk factors in ulcers and gastritis. So of course, we do have antibiotics, right? We do have PPI that can allow to treat, most of the time, Adicobacter pylori. But so far, there is something which is not on the screen, which is probably behind, that we call the silent, right? The silent pandemia. And it is about antimicrobial resistance. So not only some of the antibiotics that are taken, you see a drop in the compliance to the treatment from the consumers, but you can also, and you unfortunately invisibly see in the numbers that the antibiotic resistance is increasing year on year. And that's what we aim really to challenge. That's our goal. So we have different programs to tackle this issue, and PyroPass is one of them. So now let's talk about, and let's go back to the journey of 1 in a trillion. Tamara said we start with the consumer, right? This guy is coming from the ocean, right? He has survived. And it's a bit what our consumers, when we ask them in several studies, we conducted studies in China, conducted studies in Europe as well, amongst consumers, amongst ex-GPs, and we looked at the journey. There is a high, I would say, frustration along the journey, right? So when the consumers, they are suffering, they don't necessarily go to the doctor first, and it can last up to 5 months without having a proper diagnostic. And when they are diagnosed, there is the treatment, as I mentioned, there are some consequences for this. But what was super important in the research that we have done is actually after the treatment. After the treatment, many of the consumers said, well, I fear to have a recurrence event. I fear that it's going to be worse than the first event. And that's what that's exactly what our mission is really to make sure that the consumers can live healthier with the solution that we would provide. And at the same time, as Tamara mentioned, we want to have a unique solution. We want to have a unique answer. And many of the probiotics today in the market, usually it's quite a black box, right? You don't know how it works. And one of the key aspects of what we have started a few years ago was to select the solution that we knew how it would work. And that comes with a very simple process, right? We give a PyroPass, it binds to the Helicobacter pylori, and we flush it out, right, through the intestine after 2 to 4 weeks. There's a not very nice video here, but on the top left, you can see PyroPass and Helicobacter pylori. When you shake the Petri dish, after 1 minute, you can see that the coagulation is formed. On the top left, you can see the aggregates very clearly. On the right, you can see the controls for Helicobacter and PyroPass. So the mechanism, as I said, is super simple, right? In blue, you see our Lactobacillus reuteri, which is our PyroPass, and in red, you see the Helicobacter pylori. So when PyroPass reaches the gastric pouch, it's binding, right? And there are selected areas where it's really shaping on all the Helicobacter pylori strains that are there, and then it's flushing out naturally through the body. This is a microscopy, right, picture. We do have these magnificent pictures that you have seen in the movie, and we have also on our business cards. So we try really to go into the science to understand the mechanism of action, but also to simplify it and to explain it at the best we can. So now we know how it works, right? It's binding, it's excreting, but it's not enough. What we aim to do is also to demonstrate the efficacy. As Tamara mentioned, we also have venture programs internally. I'm running one of the ventures in Novozymes OneHealth, and we have full transparency on the results, right? So we publish of course, we submit our clinical studies, we publish as well, and we are transparent on our programs. This one is a good example where actually we have also partnered with external parties ready to prove the efficacy. And today, PyroPass is actually having 11 clinical trials. The clinical trials that we have led, they both demonstrate a reduction of the load of course, Helicobacter pylori, so a reduction of the infection, but also, and very importantly for the consumers, it's also decreasing the symptoms of the consumers after 2 to 4 weeks of the intake of PyroPass. So we have several studies in the last actually 10 years on this, and we continue also to support it. We have recently developed also a live version, right? So a probiotic based on PyroPass that is just being launched. So that's the third step, right? And you can say, okay, so what's the impact on the market? Well, actually today we are selling, as Tamara mentioned as well, we are selling the ingredient in the B2B, sorry. In the second on the right, Pyroground is actually our microbiome labs in the US, where we sell directly to the HCP with incredible success right in the first months with the healthcare professional in the US. And on the left or on the right, you can see different types of products. Worldwide, we are everywhere, I think, in Europe now. and we are in more than 50 plus countries today. We do sell semi-finished, we do sell finished product. And you may ask why you have the China map behind if you pay attention. Well, China is very specific. I'm guessing honestly that people are saying that it's the second probiotic market in the world. I'm thinking with multi-level channels, I do believe that it's close to the US or even bigger than the US. Of course, it's fast growing. What is super interesting is that we did recently a research on food consumers, actually, amongst 1,000 consumers. And those consumers were aware of Helicobacter pylori, right? And they were understanding the threat that it comes with. And when we ask, okay, are you ready to do something? They said yes to 50% of this. So when they are infected, not only when they are infected, but when they are also not infected, they are fully aware. There are circumstances, and we believe that there is a high prevalence as well in China due to the ways of living together in the family and the transmission of the Helicobacter pylori. But it is a very unique market in that sense. After collaborating with Tmall in China, there has been a specific category that was created, which is the Anti-Adicobacter Pillory segment. And the latest figures that we got actually yesterday, now in August, were showing that it is the fastest growing. It's not the biggest today for the probiotics. Probably it's the kids market, but it is the fastest growing, at least in the last 6 months. So with this, we won quite an award, but I don't think it's the most important piece here. It's just the awareness that is raising on this. And as I mentioned, our goal is really to tackle the big issues, tackle the big problems like the antimicrobial resistance. What we aim to do is really helping people live healthier and better lives with this 1 in a trillion approach. This is our mission. This is our passion, right? We have also 2 of our colleagues here, Christian and Alexandre, in the room. This is our goal. This is our mission. And I hope that we have demonstrated that it's one way to innovate, and Pylopass is a good example. Thank you very much for your attention, and happy to take the questions.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Tamara. We will move on to the next presentation and then have the questions and answer session all together. We have now Jernej from PharmaLinea, and he's talking about an overlooked ingredient, a food supplement, where he has interesting news how you can revive an old market, I would say. It's your turn.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just try to come to my presentation. Perfect. So I'm the last one before lunch. I know that's the most difficult slot to speak, but please bear with me for another 20 minutes or so. I'll try to be quick. My name is Jernej Klopčič. It's a difficult Slovenian name. I work for a company called PharmaLinea. We are based in Slovenia. Our business model is about developing and marketing clinically supported food supplements. We always sell those food supplements as a private label. So basically we seek for brand owners worldwide who would be interested to fortify their portfolio with some of the innovative products that we have to offer. Today, I will be speaking about the opportunities that big pharmaceutical companies might have in nutraceuticals. There has been a lot of things already said throughout these 2 days, so I'll try to really focus on the things that might not be yet shared with you. I will speak about the type of products that might be more interesting for pharmaceutical companies, and I will focus as well on one category which is very often overlooked because normally it's quite small, and this is iron anemia. Before I begin, I have a short quiz for you just to make sure you are alert, and I would like really to get your attention. So on this slide, there are 2 piles of boxes. Each pile represents the best-selling brand and the best-selling products in one of the European markets, which by coincidence is also the biggest market in food supplements. While one pile represents the immunity brand. Immunity by default is always number 1 or number 2 in market size in any country we normally enter. And the second one, it's more a niche product. It's a brand selling iron supplements. So the question is obvious. Can you guess which is the big pile of boxes? So is it immunity or iron? So let me rephrase the question. If you think the big pile of boxes is immunity, can you raise your hands? Only one? Okay, a couple of answers. In fact, it's not the case. The big pile of boxes is of iron supplementation. So it's quite a unique situation. This is Italian market I'm speaking of. In Italy, the best-selling brand in iron sells approximately 1.7 million units per year of iron supplements, whereas the best-selling brand in immunity has much lower number, and it's 250,000. So the ratio is around about 1 to 7, and it's quite a unique situation, but it's not the only one. And throughout this presentation, I would like to present that iron anemia, in fact, could be an opportunity for pharmaceutical companies, and I'll try to also argue why we think so. Let me get back to the main topic. So nutraceuticals in general are becoming a big thing. We've seen charts today and yesterday about the size of the market of food supplements. So in 2020, food supplements for the first time became bigger than OTC. Not only that, so the growth rates that are predicted for the years to come in food supplements are higher than of the OTC. So it's quite natural that companies, as big pharmaceutical companies as well, if not yet present in this market, they're of course considering to enter. There are a couple of reasons why we think pharmaceutical companies are more interested in the last years. One being that obviously it represents a nice new stream of revenue that you can get in this market. Secondly, in our opinion, and it's our theory, that the margins in food supplements are higher than in RX or OTC for a couple of very obvious reasons. For example, to develop and to put them on the market, the food supplement is way cheaper and faster than to put on the market OTC. For example, time to market, this is the information that we retrieved from IQVIA. Time to market of food supplement, it's 1 to 2 years, whereas time to market of OTC, it's twice as much. So if companies want to be agile and really go along with the market, which is very dynamic lately, food supplements for sure is one of the categories to be in. A second proof that things are really developing around the food supplements are also the M&As that we see. So over the past decade or so, we saw a lot of acquisitions, both in OTC and food supplements. Interestingly, the big acquisitions in OTC were happening up to 2016. As of 2016 on, all the big acquisitions were actually of the nutraceutical brands and companies. I think today or yesterday it was mentioned that Bayer acquired Care-Off, which is also a sign of a new trend in nutraceuticals, which is personalized nutrition. We have different other examples from Johnson & Johnson acquiring nutraceutical brands, GSK and Pfizer enter into a joint venture around the Centrum, which is also a nutraceutical brand, and so on and so forth. So things are happening in nutraceutical, and we do expect more acquisitions in the near future. Not all of the products, not all of the categories we think are suitable for pharmaceutical companies. We think that there are a couple of criteria that product should fill in order to be interesting for a pharmaceutical company. So first of all, we think that it should be targeting a certain health condition, that it's more serious, and normally those health conditions are not the ones that can be self-diagnosed. So normally consumers would still need to visit doctor and discuss and get advice from the doctor. Ideally, those products would need to have the clinical support, so it can be medical detailed to doctors. Obviously, pharmaceutical companies have a strong promotion throughout the medical detailing. And if food supplement can actually be detailed to doctors, this is, of course, something that can be quite successfully utilized by the sales force they already have. So here, there are a couple of examples of very successful products that are being sold by the pharmaceutical companies. So we have Elevit by Bayer, which is one of the strongest products in prenatal support. Eurocran, which is the UTI, urinary tract infection product that is being sold by a company in Brazil, Miralis. We have products for cardiovascular diseases, products for digestive health, and so on and so forth. So these are all products that somehow fit to the criteria I've mentioned. The second very important criteria when deciding what to launch is, of course, the market size. On the right-hand side, you see the graph that most probably all of your marketing colleagues are checking daily. So this is the size of the market of each therapeutic area, and of course, the growth rates. Now, if you are a pragmatic marketeer, you would check this graph and you would say, wow, immunity is huge. It has a nice potential for the future as well. Of course, the next new product that you want to launch will be in immunity. So this is one way of thinking. We would like to encourage another way as well. So on this slide, what you won't see is iron anemia products, so products to treat iron deficiency. And we see that it's the case on quite a lot of markets we deal with, that iron deficiency is actually non-existing when it comes to nutraceuticals. Of course, there is iron deficiency is being treated by the Rx drugs, but not so much with the food supplements. But we believe, and we have some cases to show, that when entering the market with proper advanced form of iron, the market can really be created. And I'll try to show you some examples. Just before I continue, this is quite a unique, I would say, marketing campaign that was done by Japanese pharmaceutical companies, which is addressing one of the most common symptoms in iron deficiency, and this is tiredness and fatigue. So just in case you feel sleepy right now, it's because I'm boring or because you might have the deficiency. And if this is the case, please speak to me after the presentation. Okay. Why iron? I will give you a couple of examples of markets where, the markets used to be small, but the growth rates were enormous. Normally, on all the markets we check, the growth rates in iron deficiency are double-digit and are way above the average of the growth rates of nutraceuticals in general. For example, Romania, the growth rate over the past years was above 40%. So you can imagine what could be the market at the end of these dynamics. Secondly, when you compare those growth rates over the 5 or 10 years, you get to the market that could be really, really appealing to enter. Now, I gave you the example earlier of Italian situation where immunity is being sold on a much lower quantity than iron. 10 years ago or a little bit more, the iron market in Italy were non-existing, up until a brand entered with a very advanced form of iron food supplement, a food supplement that has quite a wide range of different clinicals. And over the years, they have created now by far the biggest iron market in Europe. So the market in Italy, it's over 80 million euro already in value. So you can imagine how the charts in Italy look like today. So why this brand was so successful? Normally on the markets we analyze, we see that very few advanced iron food supplements are actually present. We have these cases in different countries. So when there is a brand that enters with an advanced form, they really have a good competitive advantage. And this is what they're utilizing, and they can actually start creating the market. So what are the reasons behind this tremendous growth that we saw in Italy and on some other markets? So first of all, iron deficiency is a serious and very widespread condition. So iron deficiency is by far the biggest nutraceutical or nutrient deficiency worldwide. The solution is also well known. So if you are iron deficient, you know exactly what you need to take. You need to take the iron. It's not like that the company tries to sell an extract from a herb from India that is harvested only on the full moon and it has this or that advantages. No, if you are iron deficient, this is the product that you need to take. So it's not so difficult to communicate this to the consumers. And the third thing, which we see practically on all markets, the prevailing type of iron deficiency products that we see have some very common flaws. So first of all, it's efficacy, which is very questionable. There is no clinical support behind the product. most likely those products will have some strange taste. I don't know if you ever tasted iron, but normally it has a strong taste of iron, and you know, it causes a little bit of side effects such as nausea or stomachache. So all those flaws could be somehow avoided if you provide the proper product to the market. So all those things that I was explaining right now were, of course, the reason why PharmaLinea has invested quite massively in the past years to bring to the market a line of products that are being shaped and formulated around quite a unique source of iron, which is micronized and microencapsulated. Today, PharmaLinea has quite a nice variety of different products in different forms. So we have liquids, which are targeting mostly kids. We have, of course, capsules for adults. Last year, we launched oral dispersible sticks and liquid sticks, also to be a little bit more aligned with the latest trends. All those products, as mentioned, are based on the same source of iron, and we are getting constant proofs that the products that we have are actually fulfilling the needs of consumers. We were awarded by the Nutri-Ingredients Award. As for the taste for the children product, we got already twice for the award for the best tasting product. So all these, I would say, awards are really encouraging us that we are on the right path. This was also one of the reasons why we started the clinical trial. So the clinical that we did was on a product for children. So this is a product in a liquid form, in a syrup. Clinical was published recently, and the clinical was, of course, shaped around proving a couple of parameters. One is, of course, efficacy. And we were extremely proud and happy that we finally were able to share a clinical where the ferritin levels, which are normally the key marker of iron deficiency, were increased as much as 69% compared to placebo. The second parameter that we were quite interested in was compliance as well, because with anemic children, one of the key issues is compliance. They refuse to take iron because of the taste. So throughout the clinical, we also proved that there is no significant difference in compliance in between placebo and the group that took our iron. The clinical was a golden standard clinical on 85 kids. It was done in Slovenia and compared to placebo. There are a couple of case studies that I would like to share with you just to prove as well what I'm trying to explain. I will give you an example of two European countries that are rather simple. So in one country, a partner we work with entered with our product when there was no other similar product on the market. So they were the first one entering with more advanced form of iron. This case is quite similar to the Italian. Of course, it's on a much lower level, but they have really created the market in a course of 10 years. They're today the market leader, and the sales, despite the fact that the country is rather small, are really, really high. The second case is rather different because when our partner entered the market, there were already other advanced forms of iron on the market, but in the course of 3 years, they managed to achieve the market share of almost 20%, which was also quite a significant thing. Now, just for the sake of a little mathematical exercise, if you're wondering what is the potential of iron in your country, this is, of course, very simplified, but I'll try to explain. So on the left-hand side, you have one of the cases we have. So in the country with a population of 20 million, they are selling a little bit above 400,000 units per year, which is roughly 20,000 per million of population. Now, if you are coming from a country with 100 million population, then just multiply those millions with 20,000, and you'll get an idea what could be the sales figure at the end of the year for the iron products. Now, putting this in this perspective, rather than looking at how big the market is in immunity, of course, gives quite a nice opportunity that you might be interested in. Future of nutraceuticals, as it was already said, a big, I would say, trend nowadays, and we see this trend coming with a bigger force in the future years, is personalized nutrition. So this is something that is happening already. We think that the personalized nutrition will continue to grow and develop, but together with some self-diagnosis appliances and gadgets, we think that when consumers will be able to identify what nutrients they're missing in their body, the personalized nutrition will, of course, grow even more rapid. Just to give you an example, these gadgets are already appearing on the market. We are following this quite closely because we are mostly interested in non-invasive gadgets. For example, Apple announced that in one of the next generations of Apple Watches, Apple Watch will be measuring the level of glucose in blood. So this will be quite a breakthrough because then you will be able to track the sugar levels on a daily basis. And if in case of any irregular numbers, you will be, of course, able to take the proper nutrients. In summary, so I hope I was able to show you that there certainly is a potential for pharmaceutical companies in food supplements as well. We think that there are some products that are more appealing to pharma companies. So these are the products that normally could be medical detailed. These are the products that have more clinical studies behind, that are a little bit more advanced, and that normally these products are targeting a little bit more serious health conditions. Iron is often overlooked. Why? Because normally the markets are small, are dominated by RX. Again, I hope that I was able to show you that with proper solution on the market, you can really create the market in a matter of a couple of years, and then the numbers become quite significant. And last but not least, we see quite a bright future in food supplements. We think that personalized nutrition will continue to grow. We think that there will be more and more gadgets that will support consumers when deciding what kind of nutrients they should take. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jernej. A really nice and interesting business case and very well presented. Thank you very much. Now we have the time for questions. Are there any questions?
Thank you. This is a question for Novozymes concerning Helicobacter case in China. The question is, how do you handle the stability of probiotic strains? Do you need a cold chain? China has a different climate zone, so this is a very, very hard matter to handle.
No, very valid question. You're right. So climatic zone is not that easy to handle with live probiotic. In the case of Pylopass, this is an inactivated version, so postbiotic. So it's suitable in very different kinds of format and suitable for the climatic zones that are a bit more harsh.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's good. You woken them all up. It was a good presentation.
Thank you very much for this very wide overview. I would love to ask the panel, how important do you consider application methods and innovation in application methods to be versus the actual compound? Is this a relevant dimension or only something supplementary?
So if you're referring to the forms of products, we think it plays an important role, of course. I think it has very much to do with the target audience. It has very much to do with different markets as well. We've been recently focusing a lot in bringing to the market new forms such as mono-dosage forms, because we see a huge trend, especially coming from Asia, and there this is extremely important. When it comes to children, obviously, liquid forms are important. Liquid forms are challenging as well because it's a stability problem normally. So to answer your question, we think it's very important when deciding what kind of target audience you try to address and what kind of markets you are trying to address.
Perhaps, José Miguel, you can add, because you were proud about your pill form. Can you add on?
I mean, we are focusing on those pills for the photoprotection.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that depending on the country, we have suffered the stability or the hurdles to enter into those markets. Definitely working on that, and also changing the appearance and the origin of the capsules themselves. to cope with new regulation.
But you have found that it would be an advantage for the consumer if you have it in a pill form.
I mean, in this case, it was not an advantage. It was the disruptive innovation.
Okay.
I guess we didn't play. If you ask me, perhaps it will be even better in a soft gel. The problem is the solution that we had was high capsules. The customers at the end, just the reception of the innovative version was that it was a capsule. And that was, I don't know if the pure innovation.
Yes.
Better for the customers, it was the unique form that they was presented in those days. Nowadays, there are more competitors, of course.
Thank you. There are more questions.
Yeah, the question for Jerome also about, I think, Pylopass, you call it. It seems very much you're presenting that as a treatment for pylori. So, in fact, a direct competitor to antibiotics, which are used to treat pylori. How do you manage that in terms of either regulatory or maybe communication that you're promoting, I guess, a food supplement as a therapeutic product?
So, and you're perfectly right. I think I should have presented more as not as an alternative, direct alternative, but as an adjuvant, right, to the current treatment. And what we have seen is an increase, right, in the eradication rate with in combination with the triple therapies as well, right? So that's the start. But obviously there is a long-term vision, right, really to be able to prevent as well, and especially what we observe is a high contamination rate in very close social communities. So the prevention, right? That's more the idea, right? The prevention is the long-term view. But you're perfectly right; it's not yet right. And regulatory authorities, depending on the countries, but it's ranging from food for special medical purpose in some countries to food supplements everywhere. And in China, it's a bit specific with the food status.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions?
Very much. My question is for Novozymes and of course. First, thank you for your interesting presentation and for having put an outlook on the world of gut microbiota. My question is, as you have previously said, there is an increasing literature on gut microbiota and probiotics, of course. And this is one of the growing fields in scientific literature and scientific interest. My question is, even if there is a lot of literature, do you think, according to your experience, that this literature in the next years will lead for the food supplement probiotic sector to a change of regulatory? Because as you probably know, we cannot even say the word probiotic. And we will speak about probiotics, but the probiotics do not exist according to European Food Safety Agency. Do you think so that literature, all this mass of literature will lead to a change in regulatory framework? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. This is something that we have observed quite a lot in our intelligence as well. Specifically in Europe, there has been a couple of countries that's starting to allow the use of probiotics. I think it started with Italy. Denmark is also one of them. And we see this more and more. And I think that's an exciting area, because if you can compile more and more clinical evidence to show that it works, then the regulatory will adapt to it. However, on the other hand, there's also the caveat, for example, in the US, a lot of claims have been taken away from the market because there's no substantiation. So it's not just about telling the regulatory to allow all the probiotics, but telling the regulatory to allow the probiotics or any other solution that have the substantiation in the clinic. I hope that answers your question.
We have another question.
Good afternoon, everybody. My question is to Jernej.
It's about the iron supplements. Thanks for showing the very obvious business opportunity, especially in the Asian countries. I'm from India, so there are the very obvious business opportunities. My question to you, in your presentation, I could not find that any licensing deals are happening in this space. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Can you repeat? You didn't find any licensing?
Yes, I'm talking about the licensing in the iron supplement products, actually.
I'm not sure. What do you mean by licensing?
I'm talking about, is there any space or are there any products which are attractive for the licensing in and out for the iron supplements? Like in other food supplements, let's say probiotics, dermo-cosmetics, everywhere there are the licensing and merger and acquisitions actually. But for the iron supplements, is there any opportunity?
I'm not sure if I understood correctly, but in case of food supplements, normally there are no licenses. The way how we market our products is that we do it as a private label. We have a lot of IP around the product that you license in, but there is no licensing agreement behind it.
Okay, we'll talk separately then.
Okay,
thank you.
Any more questions? That doesn't seem to be the case. So thank you very much for the panel. Obviously, everybody has his or her angle, how she or he looks at the event and how which takeaways one has. I definitely have some key takeaways in terms of that we all enjoyed being together in person again. And as Elvis Nunes from Reckitt said, this is also how innovation happens, that you get inspired by something you have seen in some presentation, and it's for each and everyone something else. But what remains as a general theme for me is that we are facing three crises, as Thomas from IQVIA has, IQVIA, I always pronounce it wrong, has presented. We have the climate crisis, we have the COVID crisis, and we have the Ukraine crisis, and all the other crises which follow from these basic crises. And I think the conference and the presentations gave you some insights, tools, thoughts to think about what you can do to live with those crises and be still successful in your businesses. And definitely one came out is specialization and striving for category leadership. Another one, use smart strategies in marketing and sales. Efficient use of resources, also with the help of new digital tools and strategies. And then obviously that's why we are also here partnering. You selected third parties for growth, find partners to help you innovate, like some of the presenters here on the panel. And at the end, I think we are talking about entrepreneurial spirit and startup mentality and creativity, which we have seen a lot in these last 2 days. And lastly, allow me a little bit of advertising here. If you want to focus and you want to specialize, you have to also think to prune your portfolio, because you cannot take care of everything. And there is always, in such a situation, some product or several products where you are not anymore the best owner, because you cannot take care of this product enough. You will not invest into this product, but there are other companies keen to have exactly such a product for exactly such category. And please think about it when you do your portfolio strategy, which have been shown you should be doing, that you think, yeah, let me think who could be a better owner. And if you don't find a better owner, ask me, I can find one for you. And then lastly, it's a very nice setup that we can still have our meetings until September 30th. Especially in my case, I was on holidays when it opened up to ask everyone for a meeting. And so I have only had several meetings, and I would like to invite some of you for meetings next week. And I hope you do it as well when you have missed somebody, because I think it's a unique opportunity. And then lastly, thank you for the organizers. I think it was a very nice program. I was not involved in putting the program together. I was asked more or less the last minute to be the moderator, but it was really well put together. And I hope it was not the last conference of this style for OTC and supplements and dermo-cosmetics and so on. Thank you very much.